We're here at Audeze, aren't we, Mug? Yeah. Apparently, please use side door, no need to knock, come in and deliver. What are we delivering? I'm delivering him.
I hear you're delivering bad attitudes.
Here he is. How are you? Good?
Good, yeah. Mark,
Hi, buddy.
come in.
Marvellous.
Welcome to the chaos.
Hi, everybody. So you saw us just walking in. That's probably the first ever real one we've ever done. Am I allowed to say that on camera? Is that really foolish? Oh, well, it's too late now. We're with Shankar Tiaga Samadram. Is that right? Did I get
Correct.
it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Shankar.
Come on in.
Mark's over there. Look, everybody. So we're going to do a double whammy. I love doing these things. I was just talking to Chris off camera. We've only done a couple of factory tours, and they're actually some of the most viewed ones we do, because I think there's always a little bit of a mystery about these things. And you are one of the few manufacturers that actually make all the products in your head office.
Yeah, most of our speaker drivers and stuff, except our gaming line, is made here.
So that's a wonderful opportunity to see how it's all done.
Sure, come on in.
Great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So what's this?
This is our electrostatic headphone assembly. So they are assembling the carbon headphones here. And we can go inside and take a look at it.
Please.
Yeah.
Yeah, then we get to put on lab jackets and look official.
This is my favorite part. I feel like a real engineer now.
Yeah. We need do you have your pencil we can put in here?
Do we have any pocket protectors?
Yep, that would be good. All right, we're in. We're wearing our smocks. Or is it, you're calling them blouses? What do we have here?
So this is the diaphragm.
That's the diaphragm.
That's the diaphragm. This
For which model headphones?
This is for carbon, our electrostatic headphone.
Right.
And this is actually the diaphragm material before stretching. If you touch it, you can see how thin it is. You can feel your fingerprints. And this is the stretched version of it. And it is conductive. It has carbon nanotubes instead of metal deposition or stuff. It has conductive material inside the film. So this is probably one of the thinnest diaphragms in production in any microphone or headphone.
It's amazing.
So he's assembling one headphone. You can see basically what we have is two stator plates with 580 volts between them, and he's assembling the drivers, and then with very high voltages it's moving the diaphragm, the electrostatic force.
Pretty incredible. I don't even want to breathe on it, let alone touch it.
So what happens if one of these tears, you replace it?
Yeah.
It's that simple.
But it won't tear easily. It's very hard to tear these things. And there is no conductive material. So humidity and stuff does not affect it as much. So if you have condenser microphones, for example, they use electrostatic principle also, but you will always have some problems when humidity and stuff changes, especially in electrostatic headphones, dust, things like that.
I just tore it.
That's because right now you're using it off axis and stuff, but once you stretch it, but you can also see it's super light. Wow. It's almost as light as the air it moves.
Let me try that again. That was amazing. It's like some kind of magic trick.
I feel like I'm in E.T. when they had to shut the cage in. So what is this machine right here?
So that one is, so if you see, this has conductors inside it.
Yeah.
In the other type of headphones, we need a metal conductor. For those, we do either laminated aluminum or we do vacuum deposition. So this process is very similar to how they make microphone diaphragms and stuff. So you can take a thin film that has no conductors and then deposit copper, gold, aluminum, or a mixture of those things. So it pulls the vacuum and deposits it.
What's your name, sorry?
My name is Joe.
Joe, what are you going to explain to us?
Okay, I'm going to explain to you this machine and the things that it makes. Okay, so this is a PVD sputter machine. It stands for physical vapor deposition. So basically, what it does is we have a source of pure, for example, copper, any metal, but right now it's copper. And what it does is it creates a plasma, and long story short, it throws the copper atoms from a solid to a gas state, and it bombards the sample and it deposits a layer of copper on here.
Wow.
Yeah, so this layer is 1 × 10 to the -9 meters.
For an idiot like me, very, very thin.
Very thin, much thinner than paper. So
Can I hold it?
sure.
This is a different diaphragm? Or what is this?
Correct,
for?
that's different from that.
Right, so this is for a different type of headphone?
Yes, it's for the LCD line. That was
Okay.
for the carbon line.
So I have a pair of the X's and the 5s.
Okay.
That's what that is inside my headphones?
Yes, pretty much.
Awesome.
Only we didn't use copper. This is experimental.
Oh, cool.
Yours, I believe we used, probably used aluminum.
Okay.
Okay. They're both electrically conductive.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
They're thin.
Yeah. So actually, this is let me do this for you real quick. So we have a polypropylene liner, and then a polyimide film, and then this is deposited on top of the film. Now I've covered this up with the weight, so that's why there's no deposition here. It's sitting under. But give me a second, and I'll peel this back for you, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay. So grab that and peel.
Grab this.
Yeah, and peel it slowly for the camera to see.
I think I have enough nails to peel it. Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Oh, wow, that's so thin.
So that's copper on a very thin film, which is clear at the edge. Pull that up. And you're left with the liner here.
Wow.
So thin.
This is going in.
Yes.
This is just to kind of make it.
To hold it, yeah.
Got it.
So
think so.
that's
Camera
stretched
just
in the diaphragm, and it vibrates.
Yep.
And it makes sound.
So it's going to sound different between aluminum and copper, right?
Yes.
Because conductor-wise?
Because it has a different conductivity.
Right.
And so a different amount of current, resistance.
exactly.
I'm not an electrical engineer, I'm mechanical, but that's the basics. You
Yeah.
got it right.
Yeah, it's just
That's
a
what makes
conductor
it, yeah.
change.
And you've tried how many different kinds of metals?
So far, we've tried 2, but aluminum and this. So I'm experimenting with copper.
Oh, wow.
Very cool.
So trying to get the thickness correct is kind of difficult because the rate deposit changes based on the amount of metal left in the source. So it's a tricky thing.
Wow. And are you going to keep going after
Yes.
copper and try others?
Yes, we're trying to make some stuff.
I'm sure all the hi-fi buffs will love it if you use gold.
Well, yeah, I don't know if I'm supposed to tell you this, but it's in Sankar's plant. I don't know how much he revealed to you or how much, but that's why we're.
He's running over here going,
No, don't say that.
That's so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Joe, thanks ever so much.
You're welcome.
thanks for your time, Joe.
Okay.
So please take us around and tell us about how you make these lovely headphones.
All right. Well, we looked at that, the driver making in the electrostatic area. So we'll look at actually how they make the drivers out of the diaphragms for the planar magnetics.
Sounds like a marvelous idea.
Cool.
Walk this way. So what are we starting off with here?
This is where they're assembling drivers out of the diaphragms. You can see the plates here with magnets in them, and the diaphragm frames.
Are these for the LCD again?
Yeah, these are back to the LCD. So as you kind of walk down the line, you can see the various parts of the process.
Very cool.
Gluing the magnets in, putting the screen on.
Cool. The screen is just the protector, and you have to compensate the audio for the screen, or
No, the screen is
Pretty transparent.
pretty much transparent as far as audio goes.
cool.
Yeah.
So now this is the end of that process here, and the drying here presumably.
Yeah, they clamp things together
Right.
with this jig. Part of the process I don't fully understand is, exactly how they get it. Basically, this helps them line all the magnets up where they're supposed to go, so
Right.
everything's perfect and it matches up with the voice coil that's etched on the diaphragm in the other room. So once the drivers are done and tested and all that, they kind of come into the assembly area here. So this is more like physical assembly of the headphone,
Right.
where they put the headbands together and put the drivers inside the ear cups and all that stuff.
Fantastic.
So she's working on headband assembly. Those are the adjustment blocks where the rods slide up and down. Same here. She's putting the rods that she's working on, or the adjustment blocks that she's working on, onto the actual headband. And then here we have some mostly assembled
Are these fours?
LCD. These are LCD2s.
They look beautiful.
Yeah, they are a work of art, aren't they?
You went from woods on the twos to the black metal on the twos.
Black metal
Black
is
plastic or
there's the Delrin rings. Those are LCD2 classic.
the classics, yeah.
Because then we don't have issues with wood and that kind of stuff.
But now you're back to woods on the. So this is not a classic.
This is a regular LCD2. Yeah.
What was the difference between the classic and the LCD2?
The LCD2 classic is sort of our reimagining of the original LCD2 that sort of
Okay.
made us famous. So it doesn't have the phaser elements on the drivers like this one does.
And what does a phaser do exactly?
It aligns, basically it's sort of like helps the sound waves settle back together in proper phase relationship after they pass
Stun.
between the magnets.
You set your phaser to stun.
Yes. So the sound wave, if you imagine this is the space between magnets, the sound waves passing through kind of bounce back and forth.
Right.
So as they come out, it helps if there's more of a point so that they reassemble correctly and then travel to your ear.
Okay.
If it's
Very
just
nice.
flat here, they tend to get a little staggered.
That makes sense. The reason why I make my bad science fiction jokes is because of the origin of the name.
Yeah.
So tell
And
us
we're
a
all
bit-
a bunch of science fiction nerds here.
I should hope
You
so
know,
too.
tech junkies, science fiction nerds.
So
all
what
that stuff.
can you tell us a little bit about the origin of the name?
Yeah, the name actually came from a poster that we had hanging in the garage when they started the business, and it's now in our demo room for 2001: A Space Odyssey, the Kubrick film. They all loved the movie, all the founders, and so they were trying to think of a name for the company, and they saw the Odyssey there, and thought, well, how can we turn that into basically
Audio.
it's like audio, yeah. So AUD for audio,
Yeah.
and then EZE became the way to finish the Audeze journey.
So that explains how we're supposed to pronounce the name.
Right.
Because you get Audeze, Audeze, but now we all know it's
And we get
Audeze.
we get the Audeze nut jokes all the time on social media still.
And you just
so
now you just
2016,
increased them.
right? Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, you can edit that out.
What kind of wood is this?
This is rosewood.
So on all
Wow.
your twos, threes, and fours and fives have wood.
Nope. We don't actually make LCD4s in wood anymore.
Okay.
Those were discontinued when the LCD5 came along. We still make the 4Z, which is all magnesium. There's
Right.
no wood in it. But
Are
getting
they
it
all the
at-
same type of
getting the-
wood?
No, they're all different. So LCD2s have been through several different materials for rings. Rosewood was the original, and then we left rosewood behind and went to bamboo, which is sort of a laminate
Yeah.
wood. Then we went to a wood called shedua, which is kind of more of a brown version of rosewood, less red. Yeah.
And then you changed out the ear cups too.
Yeah, ear
the
pads we've
material.
been through several different iterations over the
Yeah,
years.
because I remember I had an X pair that had a different earpiece, and then you brought in a new pair
Yeah,
of
there were kind of a
earpieces, and
few
they were
years in the
much-
middle where we went to a really stuffed memory foam where the
Yeah.
pads were really thick and harder to compress.
and it really affected the bass, actually.
Yeah,
I remember
it affects
because the
several,
seal
several
you had.
frequency ranges. So
Yeah.
we went back to the open cell foam for the current ear pads, which compress and release very smoothly and fast. So that's kind of how you can tell the difference. The memory foam, you press it in and it kind of takes a while, like a pillow or a mattress.
How long have you had
It comes
yours?
up slowly.
The X's?
Yeah.
I got the first X's 2 years ago,
Something like that. Yeah.
and then I switched them out for the new ear ones, and that was what, a year ago, 8 months ago,
Maybe less.
and I love
Yeah.
them. They're my favorite. I was actually talking to Scott Reinwan yesterday about. You guys were over at Warner Chapel yesterday.
Yeah, I went over there.
And
before
he
I
was
went to
saying, which ones do I
restaurant.
like? Because he said, which ones did he like? Him and Eric like.
He likes the LCD4Z.
Yeah. I mean, it's all personality.
Yeah.
Because some have a tiny bit more top end or a little more bass extension.
Yeah, they're all sort of variations on a similar flavor. You know,
Yeah.
people talk about the Audeze house sound.
It's almost like, in my opinion, it reminds me of like ATC or something where you can get a 150 or the 45s and they both have a very familiar sound, but they're very different based on personality.
Yeah.
Obviously, low end is a huge factor, but I think for me, there's a huge difference in the low end compared to other headphones. Massive. And I think that is probably my best sell anytime I'm trying to explain why is it better, is because the amount of impact you get from stuff below 80 hertz is huge compared to other
Yeah, and
counterpart.
it's purposely kind of tuned to sound more like speakers in a room rather than the kind of direct inject of a standard headphone.
Absolutely, which is just exhausting to work on.
Yeah.
Where do you source all the wood from? It's just the way you've been continually changing because it's getting different kinds of woods.
Since the beginning, we've been working with the same woodworker.
Oh, okay.
In Oxnard, and he does all the wood rings.
Just down the street.
Yeah, just up the road.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And then what about all of the actual manufacturing itself of the metal pieces? Where is that done?
The pieces come from various places, different suppliers all over the world. Kind of depends on who makes what and where we can get it, when we can get it.
Sure.
And especially, the last couple of years with all the supply chain issues,
Right.
things come from different sources.
Fantastic. Well, let's keep going. I want to know more.
Yeah.
So this is all final assembly of headphones. She's just measuring the headphones here. She's assembling and putting some gaskets to seal.
Yeah, like she's putting the yoke assemblies onto the rings. So that involves putting some Loctite in, putting the washers and screws in correctly, proper tension, make sure they still move. And then over on this side, she's actually assembling the yoke assembly that she's putting on. So she's putting the rod into the yoke. So it's sort of like, knee bone connected to the shin bone at this point,
Sure.
where we saw over there where they were putting headbands and things together, and then, so this is all connecting mechanism.
Great. Did we talk specifically about what's going on here?
No, she's putting the connectors into the rings.
And these
So
are for
this-
X's.
Yeah, so these are X rings.
These are LCD X rings, and she's putting the mini XLR connector.
The pre-wired mini XLRs are going in. She's assembling that, and then it goes to where she's putting the yokes on them.
And so basically these two stations here are feeding this lady here. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep, and then it goes to.
It's just an assembly line that falls in.
Great.
Yeah.
So these two stations are feeding this station. Then this station is going to this lady here who is taking that and putting the drivers together.
This is a good thing to get too. So
Great.
he's hooking all the headphones up for burn-in.
Oh, wow. How long's the burn-in period on a pair of
We
headphones?
burn in headphones at least overnight, every pair, and it's the same song, plays over and over and over again.
What's the same song? What is the song?
It's Dave Cause. What's the name of the song? Do do do
something like
do
that.
do do. You'll hear it.
You've heard it enough. You're like, I don't want to hear it again.
We've all heard it thousands of times. They always do this at the end of the day, and then they get out the door as fast as possible. It's like setting a time bomb. I don't want to hear that song again. But that was the song they decided was the best because it has lots of dynamics and it gets quieter and louder at different points. So it really helps to kind of burn things in.
Because whenever we do anything on headphones and speakers, there's always the obligatory, it needs to be burned in for X number of hours. Is there? What's your opinion on that?
So we do have on the headphones, we do have a lot of glue and edge damping and stuff. Yeah. So we wanted to settle down and make sure. We also, after the burn-in, we also want to test it. So it's important for us to make sure all these things work before we ship. So
Do you have like a rule of thumb though? How long headphones need to be burned in?
we do, every headphone that goes out is at least burnt in for 24 hours.
24 hours. Okay.
Or over the weekend sometimes.
Sometimes.
But as far as you're concerned, when they're out of the box,
They should be good because we've
they'll be
already
good.
burnt them in.
There's not then another 10 or 20 hours of burn-in. Or
No, we already burnt it in before we send it.
That's the answer I always get from speaker and headphone manufacturers. It's already burnt in. But I'm always having somebody telling me, no, you need to burn them in for 40 hours. before you can
Everyone
use
has their own experience with that and their own opinion. And it's one of those things that, how do you gauge that? Because you're either listening to it for 2 weeks while you burn it in, or you're not listening to it for 2 weeks while you burn it in. Either way, your experience is always colored by whatever you think is changing, or maybe what is changing, but it's hard to know. Like, how much of that is the headphones changing, or how much of that is your experience of the headphones changing? We can't really answer that.
Yeah, because there's
Nobody
always
really
that
knows.
shock and awe when you hear something for the first time. So different from what you've heard before.
Yeah.
And then
as
after a
you
week, you're so
start
used
get
to
used
it.
to it.
Yeah.
I always go back to shoes. Like when you get a brand new pair of shoes,
Yeah.
and they feel different, but then after you wear them for a while, they feel normal and they feel right if they're the good shoe.
So there's a man wearing a pair of rainbows made, actually, I think in the same town. Aren't they rainbows from Santa Ana? Yeah, these are unbearable for the first 2 weeks. They rip your feet up. You get, all these blisters, and then suddenly they become the most comfortable shoes you've ever worn. in
Right.
your entire
And how
life.
much of that is the shoe breaking in versus your foot getting used to the shoe?
My foot getting used to it. That's what it is.
Yeah, nobody knows the real answer.
No.
That's a psychological question, right? Yeah. But anyway, there are mechanical things that happen at least for the first 24 hours that we want to make sure everything settles in. So once they are burned in for that overnight or whatever period, then they go over here to where Jimmy's setting up and they get tested again. So they get tested a lot throughout the process.
This is your chamber, huh?
Yeah, the diaphragms get tested, the driver assemblies get tested, then they get put into headphones, they get tested, then they get burned in, they get tested again. So this is kind of like final testing.
So do you have a curve that is what each one should perform to?
So this particular head has blocked ear canals. So it depends upon what head we use.
Yes.
This is actually was one of our first purchases. So we use it in production testing now. But the microphones inside this are near the eardrums, not near the eardrums, but near the ear entrance. Yep. So the curve looks different because this does not have the ear canal resonance. So if you have a measurement rig with ear canals, you will see a big bump around 3 kilohertz.
So you compensate.
Yeah.
off
So
that.
but again, these are relative measurements. So for production, we do have other heads like the 5128 upstairs.
Yeah, this Neumann head Chad Blake uses for overhead mics.
Yeah, so this is actually was a binaural head designed for binaural microphones as a binaural microphone, but for our relative measurements, it's useful. For R&D and designing of headphones, we use a new 5128 rig that has ear canals and extension, high frequency extension in the ear canal.
But this is you're using this for
QC.
comparative stuff,
it's
to make sure they always perform the same.
Yeah, and so you can see the left and the right channel are pretty much balanced. You'll see some differences because the ears themselves are slightly different.
Yeah.
So, but you can see very good match on them.
I mean, the difference here, what are we talking dB-wise?
That's probably 2-3 dB, but again, some differences come from the ear shapes.
Right.
Also,
So usually what that means is it's as close as you can get in the sense, but when you put it to a different person's ear, each person's ear is going to be different, obviously.
Correct.
So there's always going to be a little bit of inconsistency.
And changes, and your brain also adapts to it for your HRTF, right?
And everyone has their own preference of more low end versus top, and right.
So and also the personal HRTFs come into the play. So these ones have their own HRTF.
Okay, cool. And these are all twos.
These are all twos, yeah. That's really twos.
The way it works, so do you have like this week or this day we're making this headphone?
Correct, yeah. So the sales gives us a projection on what to do for this week, and that runs in, they make the sub-assemblies first, and then they produce it, and depending upon what the schedule for that week is. Sometimes because of supply chain issues and stuff, things go back and forth, but we do have a very flexible production line. So many headphones share some parts, like so ear pads and stuff. So
that makes sense.
It's easy to switch back and forth.
And everybody here makes every headphone.
Yeah.
So once they're final tested here, so this is final QC. Mati is our queen of QC over here.
Hi, Queen of QC. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
She's the eagle-eyed polisher of headphones. She finds all the little flaws, and she has this roll of stickers that she'll put on. If she finds a flaw, she'll put a sticker on it and send it back. But most of the time, things go through and they look great, they work great. She makes sure all the connectors are tight and working, all the joints move as they should, nothing's too loose or rattly, all that stuff. And then it goes into the case and with all the accessories and gets packed in a box.
Lovely.
So she's putting the accessory packs with the headphones, getting them ready to put in the case, and then over there she's actually putting them in the cases.
So mostly, I'll explain it to you. So it's everybody who does a PCB. So they have a film with aluminum or metal. They've coated with a photoresist and then expose it with a pattern. Then they put it in an acid bath and etch it. This is the normal process. Everybody makes these kind of diaphragms from forever, right? Nobody has figured out how well different to make it. The problem planar drivers and stuff never became popular is because this process is not super consistent. You have acid bath is too acidic or changes the impedance of the circuit, of the voice coil. You have lot of inconsistencies. Then chemical etching, you will get mouse bites and other things. What we figured out in 2015-16 is we can use lasers to do the etching. So we have a film. So we have no chemical processing at all. We take the film and we coat it with aluminum. And then we have lasers that can only remove the metal layer wherever we need it. And then we designed it almost like a printer. So we can draw the circuit upstairs, send it in, and we can create a new circuit diagram in like 2 minutes. Wow. So that process, once we did that, we started doing roll to roll. So we can load a roll of film and say, do 500 of this or 500 of that, and the machine automatically does it. So this allowed us to automate, it allowed us to make the gaming headphones and stuff, because now we could do this in scale.
Yep.
So now the last process...
Which brings down the prices.
Yeah. Then the last process is the final assembly. That's what we are automating now. So we will have these robots assemble it.
And that's the secret.
Yeah. So Julio is basically, that's the design. This is the headphone. This is the actual headphone.
So this is the 5, right?
This is the 5, and that's the 3D model of the 5 in SolidWorks. If you
So
go
when this
there,
is released?
yeah, this is
Oh,
released.
okay, sorry.
Yeah.
What is
So
this?
That's acetate, like the sunglasses.
Oh, okay.
Because
I was about to say it looks like a pair of sunglasses.
It's like a Ray-Ban.
the rings on this is acetate, but you can also rotate it up, like, so it looks on B-roll. Looks.
Wonderful.
And these are the flagship, right? Very
These are
cool.
yes.
They're a little smaller.
Slightly,
X.
because they don't have the flange like the other ones. We removed it for weight. And on this headphone, almost everything is magnesium to keep the weight low. So
Yeah.
yokes, this is titanium, this is carbon fiber. And you can see the difference in the weight compared to the other LCD
Yeah, I mean,
headphones.
I can remember the first time I ever had my first pair, which were the 2s. I remember putting them on, and they were incredibly heavy, and they pressed. And I think a lot of people might be turned off by that, but what happened was, I think you guys talked about it earlier, about shoes. You get used to it. Within like a day, I stopped thinking about it. And now I have these, the 5s, and I have X's, and the X's were very heavy. And I actually feel more comfortable, almost like a comfort blanket, like a thunder blanket, having the heavier ones. It almost feels part of the whole experience for some reason. These are great. Very cool.
Which are the ones that it was between these, and what were the other ones Dave and I were trying out last night?
I think it was the LCD4Z. Yeah.
So it was the 4Cs and these.
Yep.
And he liked these. And the 4s have, like, to me, they had just like this little kind of low bump.
The 4 and the 4Z are very different, right? The impedance is off differently?
Yeah. The
sonically,
the 200 ohm
what's this
LCD4, that's LCD GX.
That's the GX,
Yeah,
okay.
that's a audiophile gaming headset. A lot of pros use it too. It works well for a lot
The
of people.
4Z is what Warner Chappell guys liked,
Yeah.
and that's what you liked.
Yeah, you know what it is? Because it has this sort of slight low bump. Not lows, but, 160, it feels like a little thicker. And I was saying to Dave, it sounds like I'm sitting in front of a console. You got that low bump. Well, the other one, you could probably tell was much flatter, but I missed it.
Yeah.
Maybe I could train my ears if I didn't use speakers for a few weeks.
But the
Just
second
listen
you
to
hear it,
those.
you can't unhear it.
Yeah.
I think that's what Scott Rywan said last night when I was talking to him. He's like,
They're all console guys as well.
I
Yeah.
like this one, and then I like this one, but then I missed
Yeah.
this part of the 4Zs.
It's
I'll have to
subtle.
listen. Those are the ones that had the kind of gold.
Yeah, the gold
Yeah.
mesh and they have the gold parts.
Very cool.
To me, in my dumb way of thinking, is like these were probably more accurate, but the other ones sounded more familiar.
Yeah.
That's probably a dumb.
More fun, too.
Yeah, but both would be. I'm always used to the bass just being a dB louder than it should be.
Right.
You know what I
Pushing
mean?
it.
My mix is like, oh, that feels right. But you might listen to it and go, that's dB too loud. I'm like,
Well, it would be the opposite, right? So if you had more bass, you would...
no, it would sound flat to you,
Yeah.
but it has to sound louder to me.
Exactly.
Hey, but I was telling Chris last night, that's Mark Ender had a 9J or K, mixed on that for 20 years, got rid of the console, started mixing in the box, and
100% different.
couldn't
Yeah.
figure out what to do. So he built a wooden fake console and then put his NS10s on and goes, now it sounds like it's supposed to sound. Because he got so used to 20 years of hearing
needed that
the
reflection.
reflected
Yeah.
kind of extra humpy low end bump that you get. Which is weird because it scoops a bit and boosts at the same time.
And comb filters and does everything else. Nerd Talk.
Nerd Talk.
This is the microphone demo.
We are testing the car's noise cancellation capabilities. Right now, noise cancellation and beamforming are both turned off, and now we are about to turn them both on. So, in the background, we still have.
So this is the
Nice.
It just removes all the baby crying, dog barking, everything.
is
So the
this-
microphone, it's similar to the plugins that are coming out, like the Waves Clarity and stuff.
this is the software that they made open source that everybody's.
No, this is actually running on a chip, so it's
Right.
real time for us
Right.
because it doesn't matter whether I'm using it on a microphone,
Right.
WhatsApp call or Zoom
Right.
call or anything. So we made it super easy because the software plugins and stuff are still difficult to use for people on phones and stuff. You know
Sure.
what I mean? It's for, let's say my mom wants to be in a call or something.
Yeah.
It's difficult for us to go to settings
I
and
understand.
those. So this one, there is no configuration. Noise cancellation on, noise cancellation off. That's it.
Love it.
So this, and also it's small enough. So if you see most conference call speakers, they're humongous, like this.
Yes, I have.
Right? You see, this is like the conference call speakers that are
Yeah.
in the market, and this is probably louder than this.
Wow.
You know, and
That's louder than this.
yeah, this is probably louder than, almost as loud as this, and 1/5 the size. And you can
Yeah.
put this in a.
How much is it?
$249.
It's great.
And this design was inspired by the TARS robots in Interstellar.
Good. I like to. Oh, look, and there's the poster we were talking about.
Yeah, so that's where the name came from. And we actually started the company, but we didn't have a name for it.
How many's we? How many of them were?
Me, Alex, Drag, and Pete, 4 of us. So we started it, but we didn't have a name for the company, and we had to go to this trade show to show our headphones. So I had seen the 70mm movie in VFX Society, and I bought the poster as a souvenir. So I was in my office room at that time, and we were just playing on the words and too many beers, and that's how we ended up with the company name.
It's great. Love it. So our very good friend Cameron Webb.
Hey, I
is
just got a phone call
like
from
2
Warren,
blocks away in his studio.
he's at
down there.
Audeze
You
to
know
listen to
Cameron, he
headphones,
produced
so I'm
a
gonna
whole bunch
go
of incredible
see what
Motorhead
they're doing,
records,
all right?
Pennywise, Social D, and a
See if he's in
whole
here.
bunch of lovely stuff. And here he is.
Oh, shit.
Oh my God.
Oh, excuse me. Pardon my French. What's up, Warren? Do you got any headphones for me?
Apparently loads.
Let's listen.
Thanks Shankar over here. He's going to take us through and show us a whole bunch of wonderful headphones.
Looking forward to it. Let's do it.
Marvelous.
This is the basic model.
That's the workhorse LCDX that you find in so many studios everywhere.
Okay.
That's the one.
How much are those?
Those are $11.99 retail.
So when we're listening here, we're listening from the laptop. Is this a power amp? What is this?
That is a DAC and a headphone amp in one box.
Okay. So you need an amp to power these. Is that what you're saying? You're saying
Well, I mean, you have to have an amp to drive any kind of transducer, so
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
But can you drive them straight out of the laptop? Also, yes.
Okay.
It just won't sound as good.
Won't sound quite as good. Okay, cool. Let's put it on.
And what's Mark listening on?
Mark has the Carbon electrostatic headphones on.
These sound incredible.
And what says DAC? Or is that a separate DAC as well?
Yeah, there's a DAC. The top skinny unit is a DAC, and then the bottom or the middle black thing is the amp. So for electrostatic headphones, you have to have an electrostatic amp that provides the bias voltage that you need to charge the electrostatic field, which is what that one in the middle does.
Who makes that power amp? It's called a...
It's a company called Mjolnir Audio. It's
Mjolnir.
basically this guy in Iceland, and he makes like 30 at a time, and he runs a website. He's a hobbyist. It's like his hobby to make electrostatic amps, and he just puts up on his website, I'm making another batch. If you want to buy one, let me know.
This
By the time
thing?
he's done building them, they're all sold.
This thing right here,
Yeah.
So
built in Iceland.
what's the difference with these?
Okay, so that's the MM500, which is the headphone we worked with Manny on.
Okay.
So it's got the new housing that came from the LCD5, which we released late last year. And so it's smaller, lighter, but very easy to drive also.
Right.
So it's kind of a cross between the LCDX technology and the LCD5 housing.
Okay.
In a way.
Because this is
But
a
built
little
for
this is a
studio
little
use.
wider sounding than what this is. This is a little tighter, less. I don't know, in the bottom end, I'd say less width. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I mean, and one of the things that Manny told me last time we met with him was that he likes extreme panning.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of finds that if he's in a headphone that's a little more narrow, it helps him like really spread things out.
Okay.
Get that going.
Okay. Try another
which
one.
is it's partly a function of the fact that the ear pads are smaller.
Okay.
This is probably the
well as
most
the driver's
three-dimensional headphone I've ever heard.
So these are different though.
It's
These
like
two are
listening
also
to a
different, right?
hologram.
They're all different. Okay.
Yeah, this is an LCD5, so
These
our
are the
flagship
electrostatic.
Okay.
Yeah, these are the
in
super.
the magnetic world,
Okay.
and that's a balanced connector. So this headphone likes a lot of power.
Okay.
You definitely have to have an amp to drive
Okay.
that one.
A lot louder. Oh.
This is great. You want to hear some of these?
I do, but I want you guys to be able to swap out headphones and compare. So I don't want to stop that process.
So when he's done, I can switch spots because this is just for this setup.
They're both great. I love this. This is my favorite right here.
The
so far.
X's, those are like the engineer references.
Yeah.
Which ones are those again?
These are the
Engineer's best
X's.
friend.
Did you have those?
I have these.
And I like that they're loud too. They don't need to be powered as hot. Oh, this is needs to be.
That's
this
the
is a louder
loudest.
one too.
Yeah, that's a pretty efficient headphone.
This one.
Which ones is he putting on?
That's the LCD4Z.
Those are the ones I loved
that's-
yesterday.
That's the
Yeah.
one Scott liked.
the ones I like.
Mine one like those.
It's like there's a part of me knows the fives are better.
That's
So this is focused a lot more on the low end right here.
Yeah,
This,
yeah.
this is the
Puffier.
heaviest. Yeah, it's got the
in a good way.
most kick. I like the balance of this a little better, but this is good too for the
And they're
thuds.
wider.
I don't want to influence you, but no, I've heard. I don't want to influence you, but I felt like those sound like what I'm used to because I'm used to the reflection of the console and that exaggerated
Yep.
too much bass guitar, and I know when the mix is good. So I actually like them better, but I felt the same way. I thought the fives, which are their most expensive, sounded like probably what you're supposed to hear.
These
Well,
ones,
those are what I like to hear.
these are the ones when I'm mixing and I mix too much bottom end in things. I worry that when it gets mastered, it's going to get messed up and it's going to blow out other speakers. So this would be a good reference for me because if I'm blowing out this at all, then I know I've taken it too far. Because here is just normal. This is like, that sounds like your Gentle X that are
Right.
just like sitting in the right world or whatever.
What would
Weren't
you use
these
to mix
supposed to
on
be
that?
like reference
I'd mix on those.
level,
You mix on those.
efficient,
Because
and these were a little more fun, if that's the right word?
I don't think the engineers really approached it like that. I think this is our previous flagship. So
Yeah.
really, what they were after was the ultimate headphone experience with that in an easy to
It's
drive,
lighter, it
weight
drives
package.
better. It's not. It doesn't have phasers. It does.
It does, yeah.
But those are cheaper, those, aren't they? Mm-hmm. Interesting. So has Cameron heard the fives yet?
Don't worry about dollars.
Yes, he has.
He has heard the
Yeah, I
fives.
think he's had everything on so far. Now
I'd like him to go back to the fives now he's heard the fours.
It won't hurt the drivers. Well, that might. But I mean, you held the film in your hand. You know how thin it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and how that doesn't tear when it.
it's pretty strong.
these ones are a little darker.
Yeah,
Like this,
these are a little sharper.
Yeah, those are. Yeah.
You know, there's a picture of these that look like the colors like the tennis ball neon, and I'm like, those are cool. And then when you sent me those to try,
Which are the
they
fives?
came in gold. I'm like, where's the tennis ball green?
The fives. This one.
I don't know. Those,
that's this
no,
one.
those are the many.
also
Have you
mine.
heard those the fives yet?
Let me go back to the fives. Let's see which one.
Now
that
you've
was.
heard.
This is the one I had to turn up loud because the amps.
Yeah, because they like a lot of power.
Okay. The fives are not my style. That's my style.
Interesting.
The guitars would probably cut through good on this and be very prevalent, wouldn't they? I'm assuming.
Yeah, this was kind of a new direction in sound signature for us. Part of a group of products that were like that. People were asking us for more upper mid range.
Okay.
Because they felt like some of our other headphones were a little dark.
Yeah.
Our kind of classic sound signature is a little darker in that region.
Yeah.
So
So my thing is when I mix, I like to mix a little bit louder. So when people mix too quiet, they mix too much brights. Everything's really bright. So when you try to crank it loud and listen, you get taxed really soon. Like you can only listen to a song or two. If you're listening to Slipknot or something, it's not going to last. But if you can have something like this where you can last for a while, you can turn it up loud, and I like it better than something like this that has this is a personal preference. Andy Wallace's stuff you can turn up super loud, and it lasts a long time.
Exactly.
Great.
And it's good. I've sat in the room while he's mixing, and he didn't mix quiet.
He didn't mix quiet?
Not the whole time. I mean, he
Oh, yeah, he does
Andy
that thing that
Wallace.
cranks for a second and comes back down.
We were up there. It wasn't quiet all the time. So
Yeah, definitely not all the time.
I mean, I think you switch between the balance of the two, but in the end, if you can turn up loud and listen for a while, I like mixes like that. But I'm gonna have more like, remember the Manny American ones that had, or is it those ones that had the bottom end? Which one had all the bottom?
No, you like the fours.
The fours.
The fours had the
The ones
extra.
that
The fours had
Mark-
the extra.
Mark has on right now.
So the fours you'd be able to last a lot longer.
I still almost like the X's the best.
Okay, what am I doing?
Guys did good on those.
These love like a clean mix, like the Portugal the Man sounds really good because there's so many like elements, like smaller elements.
What about rock and stuff?
I didn't like the Linkin Park as much. That it exposed the guitars in a different way that I'd never heard before.
Which era of Linkin Park who mixed it?
I don't know. It's a later Linkin Park record.
The one that Neil
Whatever you
did?
have on here, with Rick Rubin, maybe.
Yeah, with Rick.
Okay.
And Neil mixed it.
It's weird. Like they don't make the guitars sound bad. They pull out different sounds that you haven't heard.
Right.
Because I don't have. I mean, driving an Explorer around or whatever other car I have, it just doesn't sound like that. So it's different.
He's listening to a Motorhead record he did, so I want to hear what he thinks. All right, well, I want to know.
I like it. I like it. It placed the guitar somewhere where I didn't place them in a good way, and it spaced it away from the bass.
Yeah?
It put the
This
guitars
is-
like
this is-
here,
this has
and then
got
put the
more
bass right
boom.
here. It's cool.
Yeah.
That's
And
yeah,
these
that's
have a
good.
little slight
'cause
off
it's so-
axis.
I definitely want to do the comparison and see if I still feel the same way with fresh ears.
So this does really well with like beautiful
save your
stuff,
wife.
not great with
Actually, gonna...
stuff that has a lot of energy.
Okay.
I don't know.
You
Is that
know, that's
you're
what I would
thinking?
say. Yeah, that's what I would say. Like the Portugal the Man was
Perfect
great.
for hi-fi records, Steely Dan, all that was fun
Yeah,
stuff.
oh, yeah.
Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah, things
Probably
that are,
not great for Foo Fighters or
Yeah,
Steppenwolf.
it changes it a lot. Those ones.
Yeah.
No, I don't. So these are, where's Chris? These are the fours, yeah? They're the 4Zs. So definitely still got that same thing, the big thickness. Yeah, this is recorded on an 8078 and then mixed on a RCA Neve that Jim has.
Because you use 1176s
On the master bus, yeah.
on the master
Pair of
bus.
them.
Just like Richard Dad, those crazy men.
These are the new ones, yeah? Fives.
Yeah.
See, now I prefer these to those. What's the difference in a night after you've been working all day changes your perception?
Oh yeah, it makes a big difference. I haven't been mixing today, so my ears are clear.
Yeah, same here. And how much are these?
1200.
These are 1200.
You like those? Yeah, they're just, I think they're a little more what it's probably gonna do versus it being fun.
They sound, I mean, I know this album so well.
The thing with Manny's, it's interesting. Manny's headphones, the vocal sits back or forward. If you, depending on changing the song. Unlike the other ones, it's just like, what is it doing that's creating the vocal to fall in or back? Because the snare stays the same. So it's not just about the center image. It's really
Interesting.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Exactly.
Too much 700. I'm trying to do this quickly.
What do you think?
I really like these. These are very not the same, but they have
That's-
similar characteristics.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
kind of complement.
You know what's interesting about just listening in ears and stuff? By listening to this just on its own, it sounds really good and normal. When I compared it to something that was more open, it made maybe this or this not sound as good when you're A-Bing. But often, like, our ears get accustomed to something after, I always say, like 30 seconds, all of a sudden your ears are settling in and they're just accepting whatever you're getting. They're not complaining. Like where I was complaining because I was just putting it on right away. So I blame more so my mix.
Sometimes if you change songs, it sounds like you just put a subwoofer on versus not. And
if I put on the Portugal, the Man right now, it's such a different style.
right, 30 hertz.
Yeah. It just sounds so different, so clean.
Well, what was interesting is like yesterday, between these two, those are my favorites. Now it's these and these. Right. That's great.
You guys are listening to the same song within like 4 seconds of each other.
Word.
Which one are the Manny ones?
The gray ones in the back there. Yeah.
So what? Two songs ago, it was like these headphones too splashy in the 3 to 5K, you know. And I listened to Killing the Name on those, and I'm like, oh, it sounds really good. And I wish it was 5% more exciting. Put those on, like, oh yeah, this is the mix that I want, because that's a tamer mix by modern standards.
Right.
Because it was a tape mix. It wasn't mixed in it wasn't recorded and mixed in a box.
Right.
And so it sounds amazing on those because that little extra
Sound like
sizzle.
421s on the kick.
But the mix just sounds phenomenal on these. It sounds really good on those.
Like hologram, 3-dimension.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like I bet jazz on this is just life changing. Just something that's really just smoothly,
I'd like
evenly
to mix
recording.
a song on those to try.
We're supposed to
Yeah, the
have one
dynamics
next
on the
year.
kick are beautiful. You just hear that kind of but. Yeah. It doesn't go that.
So listen to the Manny ones because it's very similar. They're close.
This is just an Andy Wallace afternoon. Might as well pull up Grace.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite kick drums of all time.
Yeah, super
Ambience from the kick.
That's fun to listen to. That's good too. The Teen Spirit.
Poor Andy Wallace. Andy, you're being heavily featured here. I used to use Killing in the Name for when I worked at a music store on Saturdays. I'd use it to sell PAs because just like chon 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 chon, and you crank it chon 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 chon. And I learned very early on, just cut the low mids. I always pull out about a little 250, a little 300, out of the graphics, and then it was just all thump and just mid excitement, high mid excitement. And they'd be like, "Yo, I want to buy that PA." Like, sure.
Those background vocals are way louder, and I remember them being. It's just the ambience on. It's just his ambiences on his kick drums are just, and the ambience on his snares are always. I think they are samples. His Andy Wallace's kicks and snares. He uses ambience on the samples for samples, something like that. But it's always very signature sound. It's just incredible.
Interesting. All of his mixes we listened to. This is back to splashy, isn't it?
Oh, maybe on those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which it does that center thing weird where the vocals come up.
It's very clean and tight compared to like the other rock ones. This one's very focused.
Yeah,
these
but it's
almost
still
are
got
like
that
the fives.
splashiness though.
These are almost like the fives.
When in the
sense
chorus, you still have
similar.
that.
Maybe it's just because they feel like it, because you're.
That's I
very
think like the
similar
7K and above. It's just a
feel
little
to
bit
it.
more hyped in that area. Probably like
This
My-
record's good.
My first day my first professional day was an intern.
Can you rewind it back like 10 seconds with a break, and then when the kick comes... Oh, I've got it. When the kick comes in...
Right. My first day at Chicago Recording Company when I started was the Pumpkins' last recording day.
Oh, really?
As a band, the real band.
Okay.
With Darcy and everyone. Well, not Darcy, but the whole other lineup was there. I think Billy played bass on that day.
Oh, wow.
But like that's when I was 19. I'll give you an idea. 2000. Oh my goodness. Just crazy. Like I totally missed all the good kind of rock stuff. I would have killed to work on like No Code. Would have been an amazing album, Pearl Jam's. Man, you seem to have gotten yourself into a good time period yourself.
No, I came in a little late though, but I mean, I saw it like with Terry Date. He was doing Deftones, second Deftones record,
Yeah.
which is a great sounding record. He did that at Larrabee when I worked there.
That metal thing, did Terry do that one?
Which one?
The one you played to me a couple seconds
Was it
ago?
the Motorhead one? Or no, that's Ross Robinson and then Andy Wallace mixed.
Okay.
Sepultura, Bloody
Yeah.
Roots.
Very heavy.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, it's like a record like that, a good mixer bad mixers would make it too bright and
Right.
poor heavy metal, and he made it more like
Mid-range,
Nirvana in a
yeah.
sense, but even more bottom than I would say the Nirvana
Yeah.
record. So you can
He
crank
was
it
probably
loud.
using NS10s back in the early 90s, and now he's Genelecs, I think.
When I saw him in like early 2000s, he had NS10s and Genelecs. He had both. Oh.
So cool. It's interesting because those are two super different albums sonically as a band.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's like the Blue album versus Pinkerton. The Nevermind
And In Utero?
and Utero, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's way
Albini versus
like at the drums on this. That's what we should check.
oh, super boxy sounding. That was a Minnesota album.
Yeah, it was Albini.
That's fun. I just don't forget. Just reminded just how good that first Rage album is. So good.
Very special.
Yeah, unbelievable. But it just sounded honest. You know, you heard that. You didn't when.
And you never thought of it as a three-piece.
Yeah.
You just thought of it as a song. Very cool, Chris.
Yeah. Thanks for having us. He's looking at like, when are you guys going to go? So, Chris, take us through the range, please.
Yeah, what we listened to today, well, starting at the bottom, the sweet spot of the line, the LCD-X. This is the one you find in so many studios around the world. It's like I call it our studio workhorse headphone. So LCD-X. And then going up from there, the newest in our line, the MM500 that we did with Manny Marroquin. This is sort of an evolution of the LCD-X driver put into the housing from the LCD5 that we'll talk about in a minute.
Okay.
So lighter weight, very robust, studio ready, but ready to travel the world as well.
Great. So I assume these were his workhorse headphones, then, if you wanted that sound.
He's had these for the longest, probably.
Yeah.
This is when Manny kind of first started working with our headphones in about 2016. This was the pair.
Right.
And then from there, he kind of evolved through everything. He listened to everything we came out with since then. When we got to the LCD5, he said, wow, if we can take some of this and make something out of it, I'll put my name on that.
Okay,
So that's how we arrived at the MM500.
Fantastic.
So then we had the LCD4Z, which is our former flagship that was a top of the line for years. And this is the low impedance version of the LCD4, which was sort of developed with feedback from studio people who loved the LCD4 but didn't want to have to carry a headphone amp with them to every session they did. So you can drive this with anything.
Great.
So that was that one. And then we have the LCD5, which is now our current flagship planar magnetic. And everything about this was redesigned from the ground up. Smaller ear cups, more lightweight. The primary brief was let's make it as light as possible.
Right.
And then we went for kind of a new sound signature with a little more upper mid-range presence. And then you guys also listened to the sort of black sheep of the family, the carbon electrostatic, which, as we discussed, you have to have a special electrostatic amplifier. You can't just use any old headphone amp. So it's kind of a different beast, and it uses a completely different technology from the planar magnetics. No magnets inside. It's all based on static electricity is what drives these, really.
I thought those are pretty remarkable. We ended up listening to a lot of Andy Wallace's mixes because we found out between the three of us we all had favorites in Andy Wallace of any other mixer. Rage Against the Machine, which is a really exciting for the first album, really translated well on that. Kept all the excitement, didn't get too splashy. But then a couple of other records which are a bit more aggressive in the cymbals, I just felt like, oh, maybe a little hyped on the high end. But then I started thinking to myself, wait there, what are my favorite mixed records? And my favorite mixed records all translated perfectly on that. These might be the most honest headphones I've heard maybe ever.
Yeah.
In the highs. It was like something that was always a little bit too splashy, that didn't really translate on cell phones and stuff like that, especially that sort of early 2000s thing where everything got a little bit too shh. You could really tell it was like that.
You can tell, right, yeah. This is when we had early prototypes of these, or almost done prototypes of these, really. I took them over to Sound City to Tony Berg, who has a pair of LCDs that he's used for a couple of years now. He put them on, and he listened to a little bit of stuff. I don't know if you know Tony, but he's like really very zen. He's like, wow, this is like a mastering headphone. And it's turned out to be true because now all these mastering engineers are just loving this headphone.
Because of all the
Bob
detail.
Katz, Bob Ludwig, Tony Cousins, all these guys are like, oh, that's the one. I can hear everything. I know exactly what I need to do to this to make it as good as it can be.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, they'll have great characteristics. I will say, these are still unbelievable headphones. Unbelievable.
Right. Yeah, like I said, it's a sweet spot. It's like that's like the bang for the buck.
Really phenomenal. Last night we went to an event and that you put on. I really love these because of the extra low kind of bump. It's not excessive. It's not a pair of like, Boom and Fizz headphones or anything like that, but just that little extra, because it reminded me of sitting behind a console where I get that kind of artificial bass lift and dip as well. Dave Way absolutely loved these. These were his favorite headphones, and I trust Dave Way pretty implicitly when it comes to ears. I suppose they sound flatter. They sound flatter because they don't have that sort of, I wouldn't say artificial, but that little tiny little extra lows that I get from that.
Yeah, the resonance. And that's all about mostly the ear pads.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ear pad surface and parallel walls. So think of this as a tiny room or like an acoustic guitar body.
Yeah.
So this is big. There's a lot to it. There's chambers. Yeah. And so there's a lot of resonance in there. And then when you look at the LCD5 ear pad, no parallel walls.
Yeah.
No big surface area to kind of grab and resonate frequencies. So very little resonance.
It's amazing that those things can make such a big difference.
Yeah.
These four are very, very similar, if you know what I mean. It's come from the same family. These are pretty special, but like you said, they're expensive, obviously to manufacture, and also you have to buy that, what do you call it, electrostatic headphone amp. Mm-hmm. There's a part of me that if I was to walk away with two pairs of headphones at the moment, I'd have to have that amp. It would probably be these two. But these two, I think it's weird because last night I loved this and I'd been mixing all day. Not all day. I'd been mixing loud rock for a little bit, but long enough to have my high mids turned down a little bit. And I was all about this, and I was like so satisfying. And I've been sitting in front of my speakers, so I was getting used to feeling that low end smacking me in the stomach, and these felt very satisfying. But today, fresh ears, we hadn't worked. I just went and picked up Mark this morning, and these suddenly became like, oh, I like these, but these are absolutely amazing. So, yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. I mean, I understand why mastering engineers would like this. If I had access to one of those amps, this would probably be like, oh, this is the way to go. Because this is like the final process. Because like I said, something that's splashy, I've always thought was a little splashy, was very splashy on this. Something that was absolutely perfect, was so detailed in the high mids, it was like, oh, wow, I can hear all those inflections that I know are there, and now they're showing. So this is not going to be good if you want to be flattering something. This is going to tell you
They're truth tellers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love the idea of what Manny was after. Because, in our conclusion being that, in a perfect world, this is the last in your chain. Before you send the mix off to mastering, you're checking everything on this. Ridiculous. I can see what we can see our mastering engineers love it. We know that these are standards, becoming an overused word, but might be a standard headphone for most high-end guys and girls that I know. And this is, definitely that little bit of improvement, And then, so I understand why Manny came up with this and wanted to incorporate those two things. It's perfectly logical that he takes the characteristics he loves from that and the characteristics he loves from that. Wonderful. Thanks for taking us to the range.
It's been a pleasure. Love having you guys here.
Excellent.